During the next hour, they will talk about a few issues or a few topics, important topics, especially between KDP and PUK, and forming then a strong government, and between PUK with Baghdad and issues across the region. Mr. Qubad is a youthful politician. Go on, go on. And he works out there on daily basis. He's well known. Uh, uh, he's one of those politicians. If there's war, there's tension, there's conflict. He's always seen as a relaxed politician, and Mr. Qubad. He's one of the big defenders of women's rights, and very against violence against women. And he's grew up in a family. Woman has had a big role in it, uh, and become a culture within his family, and that's why he's. Before I go into details of the meeting or our conversation, a few weeks ago, when I went when I went to work, my producer Kagzana, look at the news. There's a statement between PUK and KDP in forming the new government, and the statement, the meeting happened, and the meetings will happen, and nothing was in it. Is the video? I saw the video, and this. Uh, the I saw the video, and Kakubat had a tie. It was a nice. Uh, uh, but why Pavel Talabani? Why angry with us, Rudaw? Maybe he's angry with you. How we solve it? I'll solve it, because our relations between our relations with the Kakpav is good, and maybe the translation. I just noted by the commander in chief that the well, I want to start with the government formation process. How? Thank you very much for Ruda for inviting me. I thank you for yourself for in this stage we are participating. Regarding the formation of the government, it's the situation was a bit cold between, but then the process after okay, process after process became warmer. I know. والله حزنك ولا
Those who have been part of these negotiations. Kak Saadi is one of them. He's young, but he has been in negotiations for a long time. They have seen all the days, even the hard days, they have seen the hardships. They can say that, they can mention that last year the relations between these two parties was in the worst place. The conflicts between these two parties was very bad. So if this process of negotiation takes time, and it's normal, it's okay if we cannot come to a conclusion overnight. The process of formation of the new cabinet, as my brother Kak Darbaz is here and he's part of the committee, as I am a part of the committee, and our other friends, what we do this time is not similar to what we used to do before. We're not here to negotiate about the positions, like this position for me, this position for you. We could even give you a position. We want to come together and ask ourselves a question. What does partnership mean? That's the question that we asked our brothers in the KDP. When we talk about partnership, partnership is being liable, taking responsibility, and participation in the strategic decisions, in the governance of the state and protecting the state. And we want to be partner, not participant. If we become only participant in a project, in a project that's different, we want to be a real partner, and this is the core of our conversation and negotiation. We want to be a real partner in the governance of this region. We want to be more influential and impactful. Up to now, we have worked together on building a common vision for governance. We have not spoke about any position so far. I want to repeat it again. We have not discussed the positions. We have spoke about the mechanism of governance. Yes, it takes a lot of time. We're talking about governance of a region. We have our internal issues. We have issues with the neighbors within Iraq. So there are a lot of challenges that we should have a mechanism to face all of these challenges, internal challenges and external challenges, and the changes in the wider region. So these topics are technical topics. There are a lot of details that we should take care of. I'm not gonna tell you. Not because I want to hide it from you. There is a point that this negotiation is between two parties, and we have been very clear and frank in our negotiations, and there is a very positive atmosphere in the negotiations. That's why we do not to disclose anything. Maybe it's the first time in the entire history of the Kurdistan that we do not convey messages via media. We communicate in our own meetings. So we're talking about two political parties to whom most of the people of Kurdistan gave trust. So we want to build this trust as well. And the only way to build this trust again is is that we should not be conveying messages via media after the meetings. In this case, there will be no meaning for the meetings left. I want the cabinet to be formed tomorrow. That's what we are looking for as soon as possible. But it's much more important for the market, for the economy of this country, for the citizens to have a cabinet who can work and who can answer all of the questions and have a mechanism of leadership and governance in this country and be a compact cabinet. If even if it takes time, it's better to wait, to be patient rather than have a cabinet as soon as possible, but not a cabinet who can serve the people. We should have a cabinet where everyone's job descriptions are clear, everyone's responsibilities will be clear. How we can arrange this, how we can govern this country, these are the questions, and this takes time. I want to repeat it again. I'm talking about the trust. Like back in 2005, 6, 7, there was a trust between the people and the government. But after that, the people lost this trust, and that's why we should build it again. We have never talked about any positions so far. Even in the last meeting, we spoke about something. We decided that we will not uh, assign this or assign that. We spoke about how the mechanism is going to be, not who is going to get which position, because there were some mechanisms in the previous formation of cabinets. There are some similar mechanisms in Baghdad, which we have worked on all of them. And rather than speaking about the positions, we are working on how a mechanism can work to make it sure that the cabinet is going to be a successful cabinet. And the most important thing is to build this common vision. I don't know. I don't know. اگرتو بيكي ورا بيكا اهداد وعزبنا. Why do you say that? It's only God who knows about this. We have not spoken about any positions, not mine, not others. But you have your own plan. You have been in the US, you have been in Europe, you know your plan, your future plans. No, I'm not gonna say any of that. This is a question about meeting between Kak Bafel and Kak Nechirvan in Munich. Of course, Kak Bafel told you about the meeting. Can you tell me about this? Kak Nechirvan told you anything about that? No, I did not meet him. What did Kak Nechirvan say? On the TV, he mentioned that. Well, about the about Kak Nechirvan, we have a very strong relationship, and it was clear that Kak Nechirvan and Kak Bafel met in Munich. It's not abnormal for them to come together. Even here, they meet time to time. Also, in other countries, they meet time to time. In Baghdad, sometimes during the meetings in Baghdad, they come together. That's why I'm sure that what they have talked about the situation in Kurdistan and the process of formation of the government, and they have also other topics that they have mentioned. Give us a couple of information. Why do you ask me? Why don't you ask them? I have asked. Shirvan said that he met Kak Bafel and we had good conversation. Look, it's clear that both of them agreed on the idea that the cabinet should be formed soon and it should be a compact cabinet. And both sides have spoken about their concerns. No one talked about positions, they talk about the partnership. Let's go back to the partnership. KDP says PUK always speaks about a serious partnership, but sometimes they do not take responsibility while they are part of the government. They act as opposition. The answer is what we are trying to do is that we should change this. If we are real partners in this government and if we are part of the strategic decisions, we will not be only part of some decisions, but we are not going to be part only for what makes the people angry. We should also be part of what makes the people happy at the same time. We should be part of providing the services and providing help for the developments. It should be part of this. We should not be the only one who is taking responsibility for the hardships. That's not justice. KDP and PUK have had agreements before, but when they started to implement the agreement, they have not been able to implement the agreements. What are the points in the agreements before that this time should not be that way? This is a very good question. That's what we are trying to do exactly. Dr. Amanshi is here. He is part of our delegation. He has been part of all agreements between the KDP and PUK. He have collected all of them. There are a lot of good points in the agreements conducted before. There have been a lot of points that both parties have agreed on. There are very important things. But there are 2 points which have not been there in the agreements. Mechanism, number one. Who is responsible for proving that these articles should be conducted? And if the articles were not implemented, what is going to be the responsibility for that? Look, the formation of a cabinet is kind of an agreement. It's an agreement between two sides. It has reasons. There are some topics in it. There is a distribution of the duties, and the responsibilities are clarified, and there should be a mechanism, a system to surveillance, to to follow up, and there should be some sort of feedback if something was not implemented. This is what we are trying to do. Dr. Amanj, did I mention everything? Was that good? Was that a legal statement? Another question that the KDP has agreed so that in Parliament, both the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister will be asked to form the cabinet. If the KDP has not agreed to the idea that the Deputy Prime Minister and the ministers can withdraw, that will uh, that will lead for a cabinet crisis. Well, this is a new information for me. The answer by Qubad is that this is a very new information for me. I thank you for this information. This is not something I know about it. This is not our intention. We are not It's not our intention to withdraw from the government. This is a negative idea. We are here to decide on something and then to implement what we have decided on. So, what is going to be this mechanism which guarantees that this cabinet is going to be a partnership, a real partnership? The decisions are going to be made in partnership, and the strategic topics are going to be agreed on in partnership. And if one of the sides did not participate, I mean, did not abide by the articles, there should be a feedback on this. Look, you remember that I did not participate in the cabinet meetings for 7 months. After that, there was a lot of requests and even pressures on us to rejoin the meetings. And then I met Kak Masroor and we joined the meetings again. But what we want is that we do not want this to repeat again because the economy cannot afford this and our people do not deserve this. Our people do not deserve that our political conflicts should have an impact on their lives, on their livelihood. So that's point one. And point two, which is harder than everything, that's why we ask patience from everyone, including the public. We ask for patience. The idea is KDP and PUK are two different parties. They have different histories, they have their own mechanisms of decision making. They are very different from each other. Their bases are very different. A KDP voter is different from a PUK voter. So these are points of strength if you look at it in a proper way. So if we all become the same, then we will be one party. But when we are two different parties, we should learn how to live with our differences together. So, whenever a conflict happens between those two parties, everything should not stop. That's the idea. We should learn how to survive with our differences. So the communication is very important in here. So we have experiences in this, not only with gentleman agreements, not only with shaking hands. We should have a mechanism on how things work, and this is gonna help to build the trust again between the parties and between the parties and the public. I want our friends in the KDP to understand our concerns and also the pressure from our voters. And also, we should understand the expectations of the KDP, our brothers and sisters from the KDP. The problems of Kurdistan, the issues of Kurdistan, are mostly based on fear, not on different policies. There's no one saying someone I'm conservative and another one says I'm liberal. It's all about fear. Our history has been full of conflicts and fight against each other and struggle for dominance on each other. It's been bloodshed, you know that. You have seen all of this in our history, and all of these have a trace in our modern day. So first of all, what we should do is to go back to the vision that governance should be protected even if there is political conflict. Let KDP and PUK have political conflicts in the parliament. It's okay. Let both of them try their best to fight for their own ideologies in the parliament. But the government should be protected from politics. The government should not be used as a weapon against the other parties. The question is about trust from people that yellow and green zones are not going to stay anymore. Well, I'm optimistic that this process is going through a very positive process, and I'm very optimistic about the negotiations. And I'm also optimistic about the points that we have agreed on and those who are yet to be discussed and negotiated about. I'm sure that there is an open door for a common understanding. Coming to the green zone and the yellow zone, how we can make sure that these will not be there anymore. I cannot say that a cabinet can do this. Well, I can say that the upcoming cabinet will be wider in implementation. When there is a decision from Erbil, it could be implemented in Germian, or a concern from Suleimani could be understood in Duhok. But look at the results of the elections. You see that a party is very dominant in an area and another party is very dominant in another area. So so when you have this sort of dominance, this is the balance. This is gonna stay like this. This is not something bad. Go to the US, you're gonna see in California, always the Democrats are there. There are some other states who are Republican. There are some swing states like Florida. Sometimes it's Republican, sometimes is Democrat. A question about Iraq. What is the policy of PUK in dealing with Iraq? There are differences between KDP and PUK strategy in this. Well, I don't want to say anything about KDP's strategy with Baghdad, but PUK's point of view is this, that we cannot solve all of our problems of Kurd in Erbil. Baghdad is an address for this. In back after the 2003, we could make it sure in Baghdad that uh, we could put the rights of the Kurds in the constitution of Iraq in Baghdad. It was not Hawler, it was not Erbil, it was not Soleimani. And when Mam Jalal was the president of Iraq, we were strong in Iraq. But after his term, we saw that Kurds became weaker in Baghdad. Their position became weaker in Baghdad. So we made this decision that we should be strong in Baghdad again. You cannot solve the problem of salaries of the public servants in Erbil. You can solve it in Baghdad. All of the problems that the people in Kurdistan suffering from, you can solve it from Baghdad. That's why we should have a very strong position in Baghdad. Our relations should be stronger in Baghdad. And imagine this, if KDP and PUK together can build a stronger relationship with Baghdad, and if we work together as we used to do in 2006 and 7, how successful and how strong we be. But if we are divided here, they are gonna destroy us there. This is another question about a statement by Kak Bafel in Baghdad that he mentioned that for the Iraqi elections, all of the Kurdish parties come together for having one list. And Kak Nechirvan welcomed the idea yesterday here. What is the point here? Kak Bafel stated that all the parties should be together. He is willing to create a strong Kurdistani front, including all the parties. Again, I would like to mention that we can do this. What is our willpower? We can have we can have some dialogue between ourselves. We can have infinite conflicts within the KRI. But when it comes to Kirkuk, when it comes to Khanaqin, when it comes to Shingal, we should all be united. And we are united. If you look into the details, we are united. Just have a look on what happened against the villagers in Kirkuk. All of the political parties came together with the same strategy, with the same discourse, with the same position for the national points of Kurdistan. We can be united. But when when we are united, they cannot divide us, they cannot play with us, they cannot dare to fight against us. Another question about the changes in the Middle East, in Syria and in Lebanon. And in the Middle East, we see Iran's power is getting less. You have good relations with Iran as PUK, and KDP have good relations with Turkey. But what's your point of view on this change? Can I comment on your question? Kaga could can I? Mostly, mostly there are this kind of explanation that PUK and Iran have good relations and KDP and Turkey have good relations. And it's explained in a way that there is a very bad relation between KDP and Iran, and there is a very bad relationship between PUK and Turkey. It's not like this black and white. There are levels of relations. I want you to take back to you to the latest visit of the president, Mr. President of Kurdistan to Iran, and he was welcomed there. Kaknechirvan as as the vice president of the KDP, and he was welcomed in Iran. And you saw how he was welcomed in Tehran. So this tells us there is no such conflict between KDP and Iran. So for those who are working in think tanks and diplomatic relations, they should know that nothing is black and white. There are 50 shades of gray between them. So this was my comment on this. Uh, well, going to the changes in the transformations in the Middle East, of course, they have impact on Iraq and the KRI, especially the what happened in Syria will have an impact. Lebanon could be a bit far, but what happened in Syria is going to have impact on Iraq and Kurdistan. Look at Syria and the change in Syria. This is not the end. I think we can see much more differences in Syria. What we have today in Syria, is this gonna survive? I don't think so. This is a bit, a bit difficult for me to believe that this is gonna be the same. I think there will be more interventions from outside. And if the leadership in Syria cannot come to a conclusion very soon, including all of the components of Syria, Syria is going to face very strong new challenges. There's a question about a possible visit of foreign minister of Syria to Iraq, but this visit have not been done. Well, the whole world is just watching Syria, including Russia, including the Western countries, including Israel, including the US, including Iraq, including Iran. All of the countries are still watching. It's true that most of them are trying to be helpful to support Syria, but on the other hand, it's true that what the Syrian leadership, the discourse that the Syrian leadership has developed has been positive discourse, and it's been for telling the world not to concern, but it's all about implementation. It's not about the discourse only. The people are waiting to see how Syria is going to look like. Is it going to be different? So it's all about how the people are gonna be able to live together. Is there going to be a coexistence? How the governance is going to be, and what's going to be the role of the Kurds in Syria? I want to go back to the point of Iran because people think that if Iran uh, in Gaza and Lebanon faced difficulties, and in Syria, some people think that this is the end of Iran and Iran is not there anymore and the Iranian front will be destroyed. Well, I don't think so. It's not this way black and white. Iran is a strong country. They have strong resources. They have they a very wise policy, and it's been thousands of years of experience in Iran, and it's very early for people to decide that what happened in Lebanon and Syria is the end of Iran. Another question. This is about Rojava. My wife asked me that I have to ask this question. The people in Rojava struggled a lot and gave blood to protect their land. But right now, Damascus does not uh, include them. How can you help Rojava? Well, we always coordinate with Rojava, and what Kak Masoud and Mam Jalal played a role in Baghdad to guarantee the rights of Kurds in Iraq, the same way we are working closely with our brothers in Rojava and also the other countries, regional and international, to make sure that the rights of Kurds will be guaranteed in Syria and their status will be guaranteed. In different fields, we're working on this. First of all, with our friend Mazloom, we coordinate continuously to encourage them to work on this and to arrive to Damascus. But there should be a place for them in Damascus. We always talk to our Turkish brothers that if you want the Syrian Kurds to stay as Syrians, then you should let them to live and work in Syria. But if they are under the threat of bombardment, then that's going to be that's not going to let the Kurds to stay Syrian. So Syria is not going to be a country without the Kurds, a safe country, a secure country, a country who can succeed. So Kurds should be part of the political system in Syria. This is another question about Turkey, the Suleimani airport, and relations between the PUK and Turkey. You're talking about PUK. For sure, the relations between Turkey and PUK is a very old relation, and it's a relation which the foundation of it was founded by President Mam Jalal. He was the one who strengthened the relation between Turkey and the KRI. Remember 2008, 200,000 troops of Turkey were on the borders of Turkey to Kurdistan, and Kak Masoud went to the border and he said, I will not let the Turkish troops enter Kurdistan. That was the situation, but it was Mr. Mam Jalal, President Mam Jalal, who brought together the Kurds and the Turks, and he he helped for this tension to end and to normalize the relations. So, but if today there is some sort of coldness in the relations between PUK and Turkey, I don't think that it's going to take a long time for it to be better. And I think both parties have tried. Some part of it is related to misunderstanding. Another thing is related to that since 2012, the PUK, the internal was suffering from internal issues. It's been a couple of years that PUK have came together again and to have a strategic view, and we have been busy with our own conflicts and tensions, so we did not have time and energy to go and to work on the strategic things outside of Kurdistan. Right now, we have a better relationship between the PUK and Turkey, and what we should do is that we should convince Turkey that Soleimani is not the enemy of Turkey, and Turkey should not look at Soleimani as enemy. Soleimani is not a threat to the Turkish national security, and well, Turkey should not be punishing Soleimani. There could be different ideas about what PUK think about the Kurds in Turkey, and Turkey could have other points of views. But when a citizen from Soleimani is willing to fly from the Slemani Airport could not. Why a citizen should suffer from this? So at the end of the day, this person is going to fly either from Kirkuk or from Erbil, but he should pay more. And also, this is also bad for Turkey because there are a lot of people, tourists who have been to Turkey from Suleimani, and now they are not because they don't want to go to another city for the airport. There have been a lot of investors in Suleimani, so these are also opportunities for Turkey at the same time. And we hope so. And in all of our meetings with them, we request Turkey to review their decision about the embargo they have on the Suleimani airport. And we have always criticized the federal government that, in accordance to my point of view, they have not worked well on this topic. And even if I can ask, I have to say that it should not be only me in the KRI cabinet to request this and to ask for the reopening of the Suleimani airport to the flights to Turkey. Other partner in the KRI cabinet should also try as hard as I try. This question is about the message of Ocalan expected to be released today. The question is related to the PKK fighters. If the message was for the PKK to be disarmed, what's going to be the destination of the PKK fighters in the KRI? The answer. We are all waiting for this message. You know that a very important delegation from Imrali, from Dem Party, visited the KRI, and in Erbil and in Suleimani they had meetings. And in those meetings, we declared our support for any process which will lead to the end of war in Turkey, any process which leads to peace in Turkey. We supported any sort of initiative which will solve the problem between the Turks and the Kurds in Turkey. We supported. These are our priorities. They all combine together. And if Mr. Ocalan today releases a message, this is going to be the first step to end the war, then forming or establishing peace, and then establishing an atmosphere for development. A question about Emrali delegation. The Emrali delegation asked for our support. Firstly, they asked for our idea. This was one of the reason of their visit. The point was for to get the ideas from all parties. In Turkey, they visited the parties. They got the ideas from all parties, and they told us the idea of most of the parties have been positive ideas. They support peace. They support end to the war, and they thought it was important for them to visit Kurdistan region as well, and also to get the ideas of the political parties in Kurdistan. And as I mentioned before, we declared our support to them and to the process, and also we told them that we are ready whenever and wherever they needed our assistance or facilitation. I mean, we are going to be ready to facilitate for the sake of establishment of peace and coexistence. We're ready. Thank you very much. A couple of questions from the audience. A question from someone from Duhok. Thank you, Qubad. The questions by Kak Shaho. You gave the answers in a diplomatic way. I'll give a summary of the question when the question is done. question is about the change in Syria. You said that this is not gonna lead Iran to be destroyed, but it's going to have an impact on Iran's influence. It's clear. My question is the negotiation between KDP and PUK, and that we see it's becoming late. Are Isn't this lead to the PUK to lose power? The second question, KDP supports reform in finance system in KRI, that there should be a banking system. KDP have established banks like RT Bank. A new information. Why don't you have banks in Suleimani? Why PUK does not have a strategy in finance system? So three questions. I think we we do not close our eyes. We see what's happening around us. We see the changes. And other changes may also happen. You know, President Trump is here, and there is a new day in the US and even in Europe. We are not sitting back. We know that we are not expecting for the fate to come. We ask for God's support, but we know that the KDP and PUK should agree. But let me remind you that why this dialogue is important and why it takes time. Remember the other cabinet, how many months did it take? 9 months. It was 9 months. I remember I said that to give birth to a baby, you need 9 months, and the government was formed in 9 months. Now we are doing better than the cabinet before. Another time, it took even around 10 months for a cabinet to be formed. I don't remember that we could establish a cabinet overnight, and especially today, as you see all of these tensions. Well, let me make it clear that we have not sat back. No, we are working. There is a balance that we have take care of. So the speed and the conclusion. We should conclude something that will be sustainable. So this is important to to know. It's gonna take time. But both sides' intention is to come together very soon. In a week, we had 2 meetings. We are working hard on this. The second question, bank system. Look, in entire Iraq, it's very bad, and in Kurdistan is more is worse. The Iraqi central bank. He was here. The governor of the Iraqi central bank. He was here. We spoke about how we can make it stronger, how we can build financial institutions in this country. You know, people do not trust in these banks. You asked a question. You mentioned that there are two banks which are established by KDP, and this leads for the people to lose their trust in those two banks you mentioned, because banks should be independent, not belonging to political parties. What we think is that there should be independent banks to build that trust. Look at anyone on the streets. Do you trust in the private banks? They say no, we do not trust. But the people have trust in the Iraqi uh, public banks. Look, but go back and remember in 1991, the Rafidain Bank, the public Iraqi bank, In 1991, people suffered when they withdrew from Kurdistan. But today they have forgotten about this, and today there is a trust between the Iraqi financial institutions and the people. Gender balance. A woman is going to ask question. You're not a woman, the man with beard. How are you, Qubad? He is asking a question about the relations between KRI and Baghdad. And after all of the conflicts between the both sides, Alhamdulillah, they have been over. But I still see that and when it comes to the media and social media, there is a conflict. In the political meetings, we are doing good, but when I see as the elections approach, are we gonna see this sort of tensions again, or there is going to be an understanding from both sides that in the upcoming election, the media are not going to be fighting against each other? Well, thank you. This question needs a lecture to have an answer for, but it's a good question. The relation between the KRI and Baghdad, it's not black and white. So it's not the region and Baghdad. Baghdad means Iraq. So you have a government which is formed from different political parties, and you have different power centers. Some of them are part of the government, some of them are out of the government. This is the spectrum. When you look at the region, you don't have one united institution which represents the whole region. You have the political parties, you have the KRG, which is consist of different political parties. So we live in a country which is not Switzerland. It's been like 70 years of conflicts in this country. As from the establishment of this country, there have been conflicts between the components in Iraq. Iraq has never been safe and in peace. Iraq has suffered from wars and coup, but today, this culture has been transferred to a political culture. Uh, Before, the people were fighting with weapons. Today, with politics, they fight in the parliament. In this cabinet, we tried our best to develop our relations when it comes to the technical issues, when it comes to the salaries, the lists, using biometry for the public servants in the KRI. We have tried our best, even if by rulings of the court, of the federal court, today we are much steps in front. It's true. And I think there is a healthy relationship between the federal government and the regional government of Kurdistan. But there are still problems to be solved. And these problems will stay even in the upcoming cabinet and even in the upcoming cabinet of Iraq and even following that, because we are talking about two different mentalities. There is a mentality in Baghdad which believes that he is the father, he is the dominant, he should be the one who seizes the power, because it's the father, and he is the one who 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 provides. If you are good, then he will provide for you. If you obey, then it will provide for you. But here we are kind of people who would not obey. We do not accept dominance. We do not anyone to provide for us. We have our rights according to the constitution. We are part of this country. Our powers have been instituted in the constitution. All of the powers have been assigned in accordance to the Iraqi constitution. So the conflict between Erbil and Baghdad is the fight of the philosophy of governance. This will stay. We are going to have conflicts with the Iraqi Minister of Finance up to 100 years. Even when the Minister of Finance was Kurd, we still had problem because there is this centralist idea. We all love Ms. Taif Sami. We ask her to send the salaries every month, but it's about the culture of Ministry of Oil in Baghdad is a centralist culture. Look at our own, the KRI's financial minister. No, he wants to seize the power. This is the culture of some institutions. This is a continuous fight. But there are mechanisms to solve. There is law that we can take care of. For instance, this year the, the 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 law for the budget was good, better. So then tomorrow there are going to be new negotiations on the amendments. So institutionalizing the state, including the central government and the KRI, we can minimize the administrative differences between us. But our only problem is not the budget and the salary. We have the Article 140. We have other laws related to economy, into investments. We have we have topics of partnership. Are we as Kurdistan partners in the federal government or participants? Okay, we are participants, let me tell you. I'm sorry it was a bit long, but your question was a good question. What's going to be about salary of this month? I think that uh, the the list of salaries of the public servants in Kurdistan have been sent to Baghdad. There is a technical point that they should unify the codes of the employees with the coding system in Baghdad. So they're working on this, and after that, the Ministry of Finance should send the salaries soon. The last question from Rojava. A question from Rojava. Can you give us so the question is about are you going to unify your the KDP and PUK stance when it comes to the Kurds in the other parts of Kurdistan? كقباد
Hangi şemkinin dak
Tamam bilmiyorum. O ayrı diyemem bilmiyorum galiba.
Can you, KDP and PUK, unite for the for the for their policies for Rojava? What's the role of PUK in in helping the PYD and NKS to come together? What is the role the PUK can play? Can have PUK play this role regarding to the first part of the question? You spoke about a common policy between KDP and PUK. A topic like the Rojava is a strategic thing for us. That's why we should have a common policy. The relations of the KRI with the international community, with the regional countries, these are strategic topics. When we speak about partnership, these policies should be formed and established commonly so that we can have an open policy, common policy. It should not be me talking about our policy towards Syria in a way and another colleague of mine from the cabinet speaking another way. When we unite it, then what you say is going to be resolved. Talking about the role of the PUK in helping the Kurdish parties in Syria. You know, our experience in Kurdistan have been very. Uh, you know, we have done a lot of good things in Kurdistan. They can learn from this, but at the same time, we have made huge mistakes that I hope that when they look at Kurdistan, our brothers and sisters in Rojava, when they see, I want them to learn from our mistakes as well, just to see the good things we have done, to learn from them, and what wrongs, what mistakes we have done, they should avoid them. If they repeat the mistakes we have done, then this will not have a good. A lady. The question is going to be in Arabic. She is from Kobani. She says that she was in Damascus and she arrived here yesterday. And she mentions that there is a role of the Iraqi Kurdish parties in Damascus. I saw that there is a role for the KRI and its political parties to have to play a role to play in Damascus. My question is, the office of PUK was closed in Damascus. When will PUK have a new presence in Damascus so that it will play a role between the Kurds and Damascus? So basically, the question is about the role of PUK in Syria. Well, we are going to have a new office in Damascus. We're going to reopen it. Our office was not closed. There was a misunderstanding, and that misunderstanding will not be there anymore. And we're going to play our role as a political party there, if to help with the process of rebuilding a new Syria that the Kurds should have its own position and impact in that Syria.